are going to be getting our full-blown acceleration now. Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's video, we're going to be going over a 2021 Nissan Sentra in the SR package. But first and foremost, a huge shout out and thank you to the $10 Nissan here in Murray for giving me some time with the Sentra. Check out the inventory in the link below. Let's get straight into the video. Under the hood of the Sentra, we have a naturally aspirated 2-liter 4-cylinder that goes to a CVT automatic transmission. Fuel economy is 28 around town and then 37 on the highway, with power outputs being 149 horsepower and then 146 pound-feet of torque. Let's go over the front end of the Sentra, and the thing you guys probably noticed first and foremost is this car is absolutely beautiful. Anyways, you guys can see that we've got these full LED lights, which I think they look really good. The standard lights on the Sentra, they still look pretty good. You guys can see a couple over there with the standard lights, but these LED lights look significantly better if you ask me. I just love the overall like shape of them, the aggressiveness, all that kind of stuff with the design. Fog lights just down below, and then yes, we've got Nissan's little smiley face here on the front end. The Nissan logo does double as a sensor, and overall I think the Sentra, especially from this front end look right here, is a really good looking car. Over on the side here, we've got two 15mm tires on 18-inch wheels in the front and over in the rear as well, which is a really nice setup for a car of this size. You usually don't expect it with kind of like more of like an economy class car. And for the design looks really good. I love how they have the silver with the black inserts there on the center part. Definitely makes this car look a whole lot sportier, and it just makes it feel a whole lot nicer in general. And then I love how they've done the blacked out mirrors and then the blacked out roof as well to give it kind of like a floating type roof design. And especially with this blue paint, again, it's beautiful. Now let's go over the trunk here of the Sentra. So first and foremost, you guys notice that we have these Sentra floor mats, and yes, you can pick this up and there's the spare tire just underneath. But storage space in here in general is actually really solid. Again, this is a smaller size sedan and just got a decent sized trunk. I love how it says Sentra here on the back so that, well, everyone knows that you have a Sentra, right? But other than that, there's nothing else crazy happening there with the cargo compartment. Now let's go over the back end of the Sentra. So you guys can see with the design here with the lights, I love how they have it like in these separate parts right there. Definitely gives it kind of like a cool sporty look. All of your regular badging here on the back, nothing too crazy. And then they've got a body colored spoiler here on the back end, probably to make it look a little bit sportier. And you can see the singular exhaust tip there out the back, which looks pretty cool. But again, that floating roof, yeah, definitely pulls things together. Let's take a look at the door panel here in the rear. I really like this orange stitching, which is pretty interesting with the orange and the blue. But anyways, soft touch all along the door panel itself. And then I love that trim right there around the window control. And then you guys can see the seats, really comfortable. I love the look of the seats as well. Definitely kind of have like a unique look in general. Let's actually pop in. So stepping in, I do have to duck a little bit to get in here. If you guys are wondering, I'm 5'11". I have some headroom back here, and legroom's actually pretty solid as well. Get a little USB here in the back, and I just love the overall look of it. Definitely has like a nice upscale look here in the back. And then yes, you do have an armrest with some cup holders, but that's all. Here's the door panel at the front of the Sentra. So again, you've got more of that orange stitching with the soft padding all over the rest of the door panel. All of your window controls right here with your mirror adjustments as well. And then a speaker for the Bose sound system. And then here's the seats at the front, which this is my favorite part. So again, all that orange stitching. I love this little piece right here. Definitely a nice little design piece. And then you've got padding all over the rest of the seats themselves. And then you got the power adjustments there on the side of the seat, and then the pedal layout just down below. And then you've got the adjustment there for the steering wheel. And then if you guys are wondering, that's a little gas cap release. And then other than that, there's one more look before we pop in. Now here's the steering wheel with the Sentra. So again, you've got soft touch leather around the whole steering wheel, which is interesting. The leather here at the top feels a little bit different than what's on the side. And then you guys can see more of that orange stitching. And then over here, you've got the controls for the cruise control. It is adaptive. And then you got the controls for center stack. You've got your volume controls as well. And then I really like how open the steering wheel is. I kind of mentioned this in a couple of my other Nissan reviews, but it's really easy to see the gauge cluster because of how open the steering wheel is with the spoke design. And then you got the stock for the lights, and then you have the stock for the windshield wipers. colors, and that's all for this. I've got the center gauge cluster here. You've got RPMs over on the left side. On the right side, you've got the speed, and then you do have a couple menus you can scroll through to give you different bits of information on the vehicle itself. You can see the radio, all that kind of stuff, the safety tech as well. Pretty standard setup. Most modern vehicles have something like this, and then there's menus within the menus. It's like menuception, so there's just a lot of stuff you can go through with that center stack. Now here's the center infotainment system. If we pop it into reverse, you can see there's a backup camera with trajectory lines that'll turn with the steering wheel, and then you got all those other viewpoints around with the 360 view, which is pretty neat. Obviously it's going to make parking really easy, but this is a small car, so you really don't need much from a camera perspective to be able to park this car. As for the rest of the infotainment system, it's really easy to use. You obviously have those shortcut buttons there at the bottom portion, and you guys can see the response time on the infotainment system itself is really good as well. You just have to actually press the button. I have a thing where I never actually press buttons, and it makes infotainment systems look worse than they actually are. But the other cool thing is you've got that little camera button right there, which is cool because then you've got the view out of the car, which I think is pretty neat. But yeah, overall, really solid. Now just down below, we've got these circular vents all over, which you guys know I have a thing for circular vents. I just think they're really cool. They're easy to use, and it's just cool. You can like perfectly direct the airflow. And then you've got the stitching right there on the side as well, and then you can see more of the trim right there. Just makes it look a little bit sportier. You got your controls for your heated seats and your heated steering wheel, and then you got your climate controls. This does come with dual zone climate, which again, this is a small car. It doesn't really need it, but it's cool that it has it. And then you can see you've got a couple of USBs here with a 12 volt as well. Your engine stop start button with more of the stitching here on the side. And then here's the shifter for that CVT automatic transmission. And then you do have a low range with it as well. You guys can see that they continue the carbon fiber trim here around the cup holders. And then you've got the center console with more of the orange stitching, which you guys can see opening it up. Storage space is pretty decent within the center console itself. And it's actually really soft to the touch. Interesting. More of that orange stitching along the dash, and just look, you got all the orange, you got the little carbon fiber bits, all that kind of stuff. It's a pretty cool looking interior. And then we've got the glove box as well with the little owner's manual on top of that. And then I do like the black trim around the vents as well. Popping up top here, we've got a little sunglass holder, and then we do have a regular sunroof. Nothing crazy happening there. There's the control for the sunroof, and then it is a lighter colored headliner here in the Sentra. Now that we're done going over the interior here on the Sentra, let's quickly get into pricing. So in terms of pricing, this Sentra with all the options it has, stickers for about $25,000 before any type of market adjustment. That all being said, let's take the Sentra out and see how it drives. Let's quickly go over visibility here on the Sentra before we set off. You guys can see visibility over the hood and then through both of the mirrors, and then all throughout the rest of the rear as well. So visibility in general with the Sentra is really solid. And that all being said, well, let's set off. Well, we are initially setting off here in the 2021 Sentra, and let's first talk about the road noise and the ride quality. So from a ride quality perspective, I'd rate it about average for the segment. It's not any smoother or any rougher, but definitely has a nice smooth ride quality to it. If you guys are kind of wondering just how this feels compared to just most cars, it's actually really smooth. And then from a road noise perspective, you do hear a little bit of noise from the tires, but it's not bad by any means. Again, that's about average for the segment. I really like the feeling of the steering. The steering feels a little bit heavier. The brakes are perfect. I love how they've modulated the brake pedal with the feel of it and everything. Yeah, steering's definitely interesting. It's there's definitely some vagueness to it. It's not bad by any means, but there is a little bit of vagueness to it. But it's also weighted to an extent. Like, it's a little bit heavier. It's like, it's weird. It's like in between. It's not super light, but it's also not super heavy either. And you actually do get some feel through the steering, which is definitely a nice little feeling. Like, I can feel exactly what's happening on the road, which, I mean, that's something that I like. I know some people might not like that, but I like that because then I can kind of understand what I'm driving over. We're going to be getting our acceleration here at the Sentra in a little bit, and I did want to mention the handling of the car. So the car definitely, it's a smaller size car, but the handling on it's really good. It definitely has that like small zippy car feel to it in general. Yeah, I love that. This has like perfect brake pedal modulation, which it's hard to explain. Like, some brake pedals are a little bit too touchy, especially on like high performance cars, especially for like around the town driving. And then other vehicles, especially like bigger trucks and SUVs, they're the exact opposite, where like you press the brake and then nothing happens, and then nothing, and then finally something. Whereas this, it's just like you get even feel all throughout as you're pressing down the brake pedal, which that's something that I really like. It makes the car feel a lot safer, and it's just easier to drive in general. We are going to be getting our full-blown acceleration now. That CVT is very responsive. That's really good, actually. So I hope you guys saw the shift points with the CVT. Obviously it doesn't have gears, you guys know what I mean by shift points, but it's just very, very quick, really responsive in general. Like I press down and it gets me right into the power band right away. And higher speeds, this definitely is smooth for sure. I really like that as well. And that'll get me into summing things up with this Sentra. So obviously, if you're looking for a car with a ton of safety tech, the Sentra definitely has this. This car comes just with a lot of safety tech in general, especially the price point that it's at. I love the seats. The seats are really comfortable. And then in terms of the exterior aesthetics, I think it's a really good looking car. I think the front end is the strongest point. I think the back end doesn't look as good as the front, but it's still really good looking in general. And like I said, as this whole interior, again, for this price point, I think this is a nice interior. It's cool to see car manufacturers finally bringing up their interiors and just making them look really nice from a design standpoint and then a material standpoint as well. And then from the acceleration, it's average for the segment. I definitely think this is really responsive for a CVT. Some CVTs are kind of like laggy, whereas this is just bang, bang, bang with the shift points. So it just does really good in general. And so if you're looking for, you know, kind of like more of like a fun, good gas mileage car that looks really good as well, I think that's definitely where the Sentra shines. That's gonna sum things up with our video on this 2021 Nissan Sentra in the SR package. And again, a huge shout out and thank you to the Tim Daly Nissan here in Murray, Utah for giving me some time with the Sentra. Check out their inventory in the link below. I'll see all of you in that next video.